There we go. Cool. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Nice Nuggets. I don't know what number episode this is. It's been a long time since I did one because life is busy, innit? Today, I've got very, very excited for the guest we have on today. So we've got a lady who is nothing shy of inspiring to hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of people, I've no doubt. She's incredible. So just in terms of stats, came into things, I want to say kind of late 2010, 2011, there or thereabouts. Kind of started off in bodybuilding. No, you're way before that. I've got that well wrong. Started off in the 30s in bodybuilding, if I'm right in saying. Went through multiple competitions, won most of them, lots of medals and trophies and stuff to her name. I'm not going to try and go into the bodybuilding world because it's not my realm. I'm a fat lad that likes lifting weights. I'm never going to get on a stage. That's not something I'm going to talk through. But I mean, went through various contests, got awarded the WBFF Pro card. Am I right in saying? So that's pretty cool. Began powerlifting somewhat later on in 2011. Am I right in that?
When did I start? Yeah.
No, thereabouts. Yes. Cool. Started powerlifting in 2011 and then went off to win gold at the Commonwealth Powerlifting Championships in the same year. Multiple records and titles to her name from British, European, Western European, Worlds, Commonwealth, various other bits and pieces, several accolades, several records still hold. 47 kilo class. And am I right in saying your best deadlift was just a shade under 3 times your body weight? 126, yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Yeah.
So incredible person. I'm delighted to have you here. So Marina Cornwall, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, absolute pleasure. This is an absolute privilege of mine. I've set up Red Beard with the view of getting more kind of women and kids and kind of everybody involved in lifting, you know, the sort of the populations that are somewhat underrepresented, if you will, in strength sports for reasons. And, you know, I met, for those listening / watching here, I met Marina in December last year, December 2022, at a competition in Basingstoke. And just started chatting. Oh, I missed one thing, IPF Hall of Famer. There's another fairly important accolade to add to your list of credentials there as well. That's something that doesn't get dished out every often. But yeah, having met you in December, I started chatting, watched you compete. I thought you're a hell of a figure to kind of look to, and I just figured that you've got a story to tell. And the more research I dug into and started finding things on you, I had to get you here and just chat. So I think, you know, I've said a fair bit. People are already sick of my voice, but let's talk about you. So just talk us through, you know, how you got into. I mean, initially, obviously, started with bodybuilding, and sort of fell into powerlifting. What was your route into strength sports, if you will?
Okay, thank you, Charlie. So it's really funny actually because I've turned full circle really. I mean, I was a runner at school, sports captain, and I'll go into a bit more how I went into bodybuilding. I then went on to lifting up, so I'll go through the story and the sort of history behind that, and then you know, powerlifting, and then during lockdown when we couldn't get to the gym, and I didn't have any weights at home, and decathlon, you couldn't even get anything online. Down. I took up running again, so I've gone back to sprinting. So I've gone like kind of full circle almost. So I like to be fit and strong, so I'm still running as well as doing my powerlifting. So from doing my running at school, then I got into sort of like lifting weights in my late 30s. I loved the Gladiators, London Weekend Television.
Yeah.
And I've just I want to go and compete as a contender. And I contacted a guy, Don Styler, who had, he was a former para, and he had a real spitting sawdust gym down in Gosport. I used to travel 20 miles a day to go down there and train. I was so dedicated. So I went down to see Don. Most of his equipment was like handmade, old car seat covers, you know, all sorts of things. Brilliant gym. So I sort of said to him what I wanted to do, and he said okay. So we started training because he had the jet run, he had monkey bars, he had you know, a 40-foot tower where I could practice the rope climbing, and so I started going down there like dedicated every night, 20 miles to go down there. Luckily, he had a sort of a piece of ground outside where I used to practice the bleep test. And so, yeah, it was, although I didn't need that for the gladiator, it's more like, you know, the weights, the strength side of things. I mean, I hadn't learned how to climb a rope or anything like that. So Don helped me. And anyway, I had my grueling fitness test at a little down centre in Bournemouth. And the first time I went along, there was about 700 contenders, honestly. And I managed to, I mean, the run, you had to run 800 meters in 3 minutes for the woman. So they told you what your treadmill had to be running at, which was 18.5. And my little legs, you can imagine, they would go like the clappers. And the men had to do it in 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. So theirs was 21.5. And anyway, when I got down there, I thought, oh my God, there was all these big, beefy sort of men and women. I nearly ran away. I thought, oh my God, I don't know how. But the first thing they had at the obstacles was the run. So there'd be 10 treadmills lined up. And you get on there, they tell you, right, you have to start at this speed. It was the old-fashioned black and white treadmills that you could almost run off the front of them. They're the ones that go up to speed like straight away. I mean, these life fitness ones and everything, you've got to do 100 meters before it will pick up the speed. So anyway, I managed to get through on that. The next thing was the chin-ups. And the first time I went for it, I actually fell because I didn't realise I had to kind of hold at the top of the movement and at the bottom of the movement. So I kind of failed on my first attempt at my trial out. So went home, bought a chin-up bar, put it between my open staircases, started practicing. Next time I went back, I got through that fine. The next bit was the monkey bars. And then you had a rope climb, which is, so I practiced it, Don, and I'll tell you about that experience as well. But the men had to climb it twice in the 1 minute. So the monkey bars and the rope climb was 1 minute. And when I first started practicing at Don's on that 40-foot outside tower, I practiced going up the correct way, and I just slid down and took all the skin off my stomach and realised that you had to learn coming back the same way.
Yeah.
So the next time I went, I got down to Little Den, so I flew through the run, monkey bars, everything, the chin-ups, got through to the next stage where I had to have a fight with a girl with the pugil sticks. So first of all, I had to wait for another female to come through, because a lot of them, I mean, because these girls and men were quite hench, they were carrying a lot of muscle, they weren't fast on their feet. So a lot of them didn't make the run. So I had to wait quite a while for a female to get through. So eventually this girl got through. Then we had a fight with the pugil sticks. I put the helmet on and it come down over my eyes and some sponge to sort of take it off my eyes. We did do it on the floor. You don't do it on like a podium like they show you on the program. And anyway, the girl was kind of poking me with the pugil sticks instead of like you had to hit round. Yeah. And anyway, so they disqualified her, and they said I wasn't aggressive enough, sadly. I'm not an aggressive person, but so I failed on, so I got through all the grueling tests, but I just failed on not being aggressive enough. So did that really. But I'll tell you later on, I'll tell you how I got into sort of powerlifting, but then I got chosen for total wipeout as well. So my friend actually won it. He was a wrestler, and I used to date a professional wrestler, and we became friends. We were being sponsored by the same company. And he won total wipeout, and he went on to win The Apprentice, actually. Ricky Martin, not the singer Ricky Martin. And anyway, so then I sort of practiced for total wipeout, and everybody kept saying to me, "You better get in the water, Marina, you're bound to pull off those Red Bulls." But the week before I was due to go to Argentina, I pulled my glute and a muscle in my glute, and so I had to pull out at the last minute, which was devastating. But I was kind of thinking, I'm not going to get on well with those Red Bulls. I didn't know how I'd be on heights, to be quite honest. So it's probably a blessing in disguise. But then going back to Don Styler's gym, so when I was doing the weights and everything and training for the gladiators, Don said to me, have you ever thought about bodybuilding? And I said, what, me? I'm tiny, you know. And he said, no, I think you'll do really well. And at the time I was seeing Don as well. I was competing in Ultra Fit Championships, which was 10 events against the clock. And it was a national event. It was up at the, what is it? Not the O2, the building before that, Olympia. And so Mr. Motivator was there sort of like, you know, at the same time that we were doing the events. It was a national event. You know, it was supervised by the Metropolitan Police, so 10 events against the clock. So I competed in that about 7 years. It was like really, really good fun. So, you know, I was training for that as well. So I kind of got like my physique because I was doing lots of reps for those events, because it was 50 reps on, you know, hip flexors, 50 press ups, step ups. Somebody's just going to come into the room, so don't worry.
So I'm in the gym, someone can come through any minute now and start lifting, so it's all good.
Certainly Sammy just come in to say hello. So going back to so competed in that, but I kind of got my sort of little bit of definition for the kind of training I was doing at the time. So Don sort of said to me, you know, have you ever thought about competing in bodybuilding? And as I said, like, I'm too small. He said, no, I think you'll do really well. And Don always ran his own family show down in Gosport, and so he encouraged me to compete in that. Well, I only it was like a month later, so I only dieted for a month, did the show. There was only 3 of us. I came last.
That's that.
So I went on from there, and then I did my first qualifier down in Portsmouth, the Guildhall, and I qualified for the British Championships. And but at that time, I didn't really know about the federation. Didn't realise it wasn't a drug-free federation. It was WBFF. So I was up against girls that were on things. And I don't have anything against it, it's just not for me. Anyway, so I went on to sort of coming nowhere to, you know, being 5th and 4th and 3rd, then winning the British 3 times, and then got my pro card in 2005 in the States. So that was my getting into sort of getting my pro card. But when I was doing my bodybuilding, I was sponsored by a company, CMP at the time. Yeah. And we do body power, and we were always at exhibitions. And one year we were next door to the strongmen doing their events and everything. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I love this event. I think I'm going to have a go at powerlifting, because I knew I was relatively strong for my size. So I came back all inspired. I thought, right, what am I going to do? I'm going to contact. I'm going to find a world champion, somebody that excels already in that sport. And I contacted Dean Bowring, and he said, what do you do? And I said, I want to compete in powerlifting. Will you train me? And he said, okay, he never really coached anybody before. And anyway, so I used to then go down and see Dean down in Gosport, started training with him. Within about, probably a month or 2, there was a first qualifier, which was in Dover. And so I had to hit a certain total to qualify at that one, which I managed to achieve, which was great. But I did the first big mistake when I nearly got disqualified on my first comp. I went to walk forward, put the squat rack back.
Oh, yeah.
First comp, I nearly got disqualified. Anyway, so to qualify enough for the British Championship. So going on from there, then, you know, when I last competed 2018, I was British, World, European and Commonwealth champion. So a huge amount of titles to my name. And so didn't realise quite how strong I was, but I've actually, you know, loved the sport. I think in terms of preference, I love the powerlifting because it's a fair sport. You lift the weight or you don't. Bodybuilding, I think it's subjected to somebody's opinion. And I couldn't believe how friendly everybody was in powerlifting when I first started within that sport. You know, I did my first competition, and I was sat in the audience, and I was just waiting for my coach. And you know, a girl came up and said, "Oh, well done, Marina. That was really brilliant." You know, and I thought, gosh, realised how everybody was just everybody helped one another, even if you were in the same weight category or whatever, you know, they didn't sort of, you know, discourage you in any way. They would help you, they would encourage you, shout for you when you're on the platform. And I just couldn't believe the nature of the sport, so different than bodybuilding. So I absolutely loved it. And I really enjoyed the powerlifting side of the sport. But sadly, you know, late 2018, I lost mummy, and I kind of I'd achieved all those titles, which I had a good year. 2019, I didn't lift at all. I was really struggling. Sorry, I probably get a bit emotional now. And because I looked after mum for 10 years, so she was very much a huge part of my life. And, you know, I'd have 20 telephone calls a day from her. And like when I used to go away, I literally went, lifted and come back, even if it was South Africa, Russia, or whatever. I just was always fighting to leaving mum in case she passed away when I was away. And so I never really explored any countries. Just would be too conscious coming back. So 2019, I didn't lift at all. And then I decided I wanted to put a vehicle for mummy for cancer research. So I decided to contact Aaron Page, lovely strong man, and started training with him at Barbell Division. And we started to try and get my strength back up. And the plan was, he'd already organised it, that I was going to pull 2 Harley motorbikes. And
nice.
That was going to be the plan. And then sadly, you know, COVID came, the gym closed down, and then sadly, Aaron died, age 31, as you probably know. So it was absolutely tragic, such a lovely guy. And then, so we went into lockdown, and like I said, I didn't have any equipment, and you know, you couldn't get anything even online. So I was a bit stuck. So I took up just going running outside myself. And then when we were out of lockdown, I joined Southampton Athletic Club, and it was really nice to be like part of a group. And I think, you know, me being on my own and missing mum, it was nice to be part of a community almost, you know, and because I was really struggling. And, you know, I was a bit silly because I'm not a jealous person. I was getting jealous of people that were in families, had children. They seemed to be enjoying lockdown, doing puzzles, doing cooking together. And I thought, I'm on my own. And I had one person in my bubble that I could just meet up with. And he lived in Portsmouth, so he was in a different zone than me as well. So when we were in like zone 4, he was in zone 3 or vice versa. So that was tricky. But so yeah, it was a really tough time. But luckily we've come through it. And so yeah, I took up the sprinting, and I've enjoyed being part of that. And still, you know, I did a couple of races. I couldn't believe I got like more injuries through running than heavy powerlifting. I've never injured myself heavy powerlifting. I've fallen over with the bar doing a deadlift before, which is really embarrassing.
That's a right passage.
Never hurt myself in powerlifting. And I remember like one of the lady lifters whose husband was there to support her. He sort of said, "Oh, well done, Marina. You fell over so elegantly." And I wanted to tell him to be off. I didn't want to fall over. So yeah, so that was a European. But yeah, I've actually loved powerlifting, and hence, you know, coming back doing your competition, I absolutely loved it. Brilliant atmosphere. People so friendly. Absolutely loved it. They were all like your competition.
Mate, I appreciate you saying that a lot. That's
Can I just these two? You're going to laugh your head off. Can you see them?
Oh, I can. So your man there walked in at an awful time. We were just talking about Aaron Page, and I saw him duck out the corner, and it made me laugh. And obviously, like, watching this back on YouTube and didn't clock that bit, and then I'm laughing when we talk about Aaron Page, bless him. They're going to think I'm some sort of arsehole. That's not the case at all. So if I get attacked, it's your fault there, buddy. All right?
It's going to across the floor now. I'm sure you You won't mind if they come into the
Oh,
back
not
row.
at all, not at all, not at all, not at all. They're all good. They can wander about. It's all good. You're at work. You're
You're saying that.
this is not. I'm not important enough to worry about that sort of stuff. It's all good. Chill. Just wander about. It's fine.
I tell you what, they're a great team here. I absolutely love them to bits. They're super.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, you touched on that at the end of that, and like, firstly, that was an incredible summary of your career. I think if you asked me to try and summarize what you've done since you started, I'd be talking for the rest of the week. So that was a beautiful kind of nutshell and very detailed summary of your career, which is incredible. And it's, like I say, for people listening, if they were kind of half as gripped on what you were saying then as I was, it's you've already had an impact in 15 minutes of chatting, which is great. But in terms of
encourage people what their age, don't ever think you're too old to like start lifting or whatever. I'm nearly going to be 70 next year, so and I encourage anybody to take up a sport. Obviously check with the doctor if you're medically fit enough to do anything, but age is just a number, and you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. We know that
100%. And also the age thing is interesting because it's, people often look at, and it's easy to look from the outside in and look at powerlifting and say, well, they're just big onking great lumps to go around and lift weights, and they've got to be really heavy and they've got to be really strong. It's not difficult to sell me as a lifter, strongman, weightlifter, powerlifter, whatever it may be, because I'm 35 years old, I'm 125 kilos, and I look like I lift. Bald, beard, bit fucked, and it's that sort of thing. But then you get somebody of yourself, you're 5 foot bugger all, 43 kilos body weight, and like you say, heading into the 70s, and people look at you and say, no, it's not for me. I should probably take up something different. And then they look at you and then go, maybe I could. So it's incredible, and it's something that and also this is why we have age classes and weight classes attached to these sports as well. So we've got the sub 47s that you lift in, and then sort of categories that go on up from that, and then age classes. I think masters in powerlifting kicks off at 40, and then it's 10-year blocks, 40 to 49, 50, 59, and so on and so on and so on. So there's age categories, there's weight categories, and they all take into account the sort of natural things that happen to our body as we get older. We naturally we lose the ability to train so much and so hard and recovery becomes slower, and it's all taken into account. So I'm never not inspired by seeing people lifting for years. And it's something, if you do it, you said yourself, the only injuries you've had touch with, the only injuries you've had are from running, which is a silly sport.
It's crazy, but it's funny as well because like you were saying about size, and everybody would automatically think you're a strong man or powerlifter. And the BBC and the ITV have followed me a lot. So if you go on Google, you'll see I've been followed a lot. And Portsmouth News used to follow me as well when I first took up powerlifting down that area. And and who is it? Meridian actually followed me from 2005 when I was into bodybuilding, and then they followed me into powerlifting. And then when I lost mummy and then went to running, they came and filmed me up at the track. So you'll find that on the internet somewhere. But the first time that the guy from Meridian took me down the high street, and I was clothes like this, and they were asking people from the general public what did they think my sport was at that time, and I was obviously bodybuilding. They all thought I was a runner then because I'm slim, I'm tiny, and then nobody ever thinks that you lift weights. And then I used to do like school assembly. I used to go with this basketball player who's 6'6",
nice.
And we do schools, and we used to go and do the assembly and make them do exercises. And he'd do the the trick, spinning the ball on his finger, and the kids would be screaming with laughter. And then he sort of said, oh, we've got a guest here, Marina, what do you think her score is? That people putting their hands up, runner, and then this little boy saw a set of weights in the corner, he said weightlifter or something like that. So it was like really funny because people take a look at you and think there's no way you're, powerlifter, weightlifter, bodybuilder, or whatever. They just think you're a runner.
Super easy to cast aspersions, isn't it? And like you say, it's it's definitely changing. And we'll get onto this in a minute. There's definitely been a shift in the industry in general, I think, where more women are coming through now and saying like, no, I want to have a go, and that's amazing. And there's some incredible women out there that are lifting some ridiculous weights.
And I'll tell you what, I think 2012, when we had, was that the Commonwealth or the Olympics? When, women in sport, I noticed myself a lot more women in the gym in the free weights area, which we never used to. I mean, I've always trained in more or less fit and sawdust gyms, the odd female, but now it's so different. But I think 2012 made a huge difference, and I think boys and men started saying that they actually quite liked women with a little bit of muscle, and also was strong. It wasn't intimidating to them anymore. They actually quite liked that, and it's just so lovely to see so many girls lifting now. I mean, we've got like 7 powerlifting platforms here. You have to come down one day and train.
I'm there. I'm absolutely there. That sounds great.
Yeah, and it's just so, you know, we've got you know, Olympic lifters, powerlifters, CrossFitters. Jake, one of our PTs, amazing CrossFitter, and so yeah, it's just great to see. Really nice to see women in the free weights. They're comfortable lifting weights and doing what they need to do. They're awesome.
I think that word comfortable is super, super important, because it's, again, it's one of those things. You're going to have aspersions and you're going to have kind of preconceptions that you're going to make about going into places. But, and again, mirroring what you said earlier about coming into powerlifting and the world and the environment and the people, everyone's just super lovely. You know, I've not been to competitions where everyone's been a dick. You get the occasional one because you're going to, but they're very few and far between. And walking into a gym that has that kind of environment is a breath of fresh air. You know, you've been to my place. We're literally a barn in the middle of some ropey old farm in Maidenhead, you know, but you kind of wander in and it's all here and everyone welcomes you with open arms, and it's all a big community thing. As soon as you kind of step foot through the door, it's a whole different thing. Your attitude changes. And that's, you know, that's true for every sort of strength gym I've ever stepped foot into. You know, people are lovely.
Yeah, be lovely. Yes. I mean, I know in bodybuilding when I compete. Another one crawling on.
Rolling around the back.
Yeah. Say hello. That's that.
Oh, dude. I'm impressed that you rolled over his backpack.
What's that?
I'm impressed that he did a barrel roll over his backpack.
Yeah, he did. Your backpack. And a laptop in there as well.
Right.
But with bodybuilding, honestly, backstage, it was like a doctor's surgery. Horrible. You know. Now it's back out. Trying to open the door.
Bless him.
At least
yeah, I can imagine. Like I said at the very top of this call, you know, bodybuilding isn't a world I understand. There's friends of mine do it. I think it's just I think it's an accessible sport. If you can get to a gym and you're good with your diet and stuff, then, you know, happy days. But it's just what I don't understand. I've never really got it, but I can't imagine it's as also. And mainly, I suppose, I don't know if everyone's just a bit grumpy because he's just hungry. You know, I can't imagine depleting yourself to that point and then getting on stage and, you know, posing and trying to get your thing. And, you know, if I've ever had to cut weight, you know, I'm off the scales and I'm chowing down food and rehydrating again, as you know, I'm back to weight within about 20 seconds of getting off the scales. But yeah, I think the whole world of, you know, strength sports, be that powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, Highland Games, CrossFit, you know, whatever it may be, I think the world is that much more welcoming.
Yeah, definitely. And encouraging. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, so going back to, you know, where you sort of started out, I think it was great listening to you chat about your kind of route in, and, you know, how you used to watch Gladiators and stuff. There's going to be a lot of folks sort of my age, around sort of mid-30s, that just got hit with all sorts of nostalgia. I remember sitting watching Gladiators as a kid, and my brother and I would sit there and watch it in the living room. We had like sort of, you know, like a cheese on toast, sat there watching all these incredible people. And oddly enough, it was a similar route into my kind of, want of a better way of putting it, sort of fitness and strength journey. I used to watch it. And seeing these absolute hulking things bowling around on, you know, the climbing wall and the rings and the travelators at the end there, and the, you know, it was an incredible show. And then I don't know how many people got into sports after that. And then, you know, I think the sort of the route I'm going down this is where you went along for it and you passed all the fitness tests, and then you got bombed off last second because you just weren't aggressive, is hilarious and tragic, I think. But the fact that you sort of went from there and went, oh, I'll try something else. And then you went off and you started doing your bodybuilding. You went down to Dom's gym in Gosport and you carried on working there with Dom, and you went through that route. And then you've sought out people in your past that have helped you get to where you're going to get to. So, you know, sort of working with Dom at the start of things, and then finding Dean. So for those that don't know, Dean Bowering is, he was the IPF super heavyweight. I can't remember what year. He was a super heavyweight champ, IPF super heavyweight champion. Incredible power.
Oh,
incredible. And now
son,
his son
more
Ray is
power.
also doing ridiculous things. Ray Bowering is
Yeah, I know.
terrifyingly strong.
When he and he used to come training with us as well. And when I first training with Dean as well, my weight training belt, which I bought off of Aaron Singh, who was Dean's coach, it he put it around. So if you did it up properly, it fitted Dean's head. And then when he met me, he wanted to lose weight, so he dropped down from 120 to about, I think he even went down to 105 at one point. Because I introduced him to MyFitnessPal, and he wanted to get like leaner and everything. So but I remember when I first he tried my belt on it, but it just fat around the top of his head. Then it started sliding down. So yeah, it was good fun, and we had some phenomenal training sessions down in his fit and sawdust gym in Gosport at the time. But yeah, it was great. He never used to coach anybody until I asked him, and now he's flying with coaching and coaching all sorts of. And Ellie still was one of my clients that I actually trained her for about 10 sessions, and then introduced her because she used to do strong woman stuff, and that's where I met her. And she came to speak to me about powerlifting, and I said to her, really, Ellie, you're a bit too short for strong woman, because she struggled with the Atlas stones, because we had a competition down at Spartan's gym. That's where I first met her. And then anyway, she did a bit of training with me. I introduced her. She was at Birmingham University at the time, so I introduced her to Aaron Page, who was Dean's coach. She was up in Birmingham at the time, and he's at the where they train the Paralympians. That's where Aaron works. And he took her on board, and then got her into sort of like equip lifting as well. I mean, she's phenomenally strong and excelled within the sport herself now as well. So she's done really, really well for herself. We met her at your competition. I think she came to you she's going to run her own competition now in her mum's barn. So, she's going to hold her comp there. Dean now is like coaching a lot of people. So I think it's great, because it's given him another field, I think, that he probably didn't think about before. He just used to do his own training, and now he's doing really well with his coaching as well.
Absolutely. I think that's quite a nice little segue into the next thing I want to talk about, because obviously, I think for Dean, he kind of did his thing for the IPF. He got his, his world championships. He did. I'm underplaying it. He did his thing. He's an incredible lifter. There's no denying that at all. And now he's kind of gone through his coaching. It gives you the kind of next bit, and it resonates quite hard with me as well. My competitive days are long behind me, but I run Redbeard, and that's great. And I've got people that I coach, and I love sort of seeing people down that route as well. So, what's your take on, if obviously you're still very much lifting and competing and stuff, but how do you kind of fill those gaps and kind of get through the whole, how am I trying to put this? Sort of like if you kind of get past the peak and you're training for your competitions, but you want to try and stay within that sport and be more competitive, do you take on clients to train up, or like what's your kind of view around coaching as opposed to competing, I guess is the question.
Yeah, I train people from all walks of life. I mean, I love absolutely helping people. I've just recently taken on a paramedic, and honestly, he's done so well. He's lost more than me in body weight. He's dropped 49 kilos. He looks, wow. Honestly, he's done it in about 20 weeks as well. He lost 3 stone before he came to me. Just lost another 4 stones. Just run his first 5K at the weekend, did 33 minutes, and he just like constantly thanks me. Marina, you've changed my life. You wouldn't go on holiday before, self-conscious, and our job is so rewarding, when you're changing people's lifestyle and everything about them. I love my coaching, and I've trained all sorts. I've trained royalty, I've trained British touring club, rally club driver, a lord, a chairman of Southampton Football Club. So our job is interesting. I love it. I've been a PT 24 years. I absolutely love my job. I used to work for the police. I used to start as a secretary of PA, but I love my job because I absolutely love people. And I always try and encourage them to train towards something. Like, you know, the guy that I'm just talking about, I work at 3 different gyms, and he's losing quite a bit of weight. A bit slow on this particular gentleman, but I've just started encouraging him to deadlift and everything, and I want him to do your competition, because I think, you know, if they're anything like me, I like a goal to work to. I've always got to have something to work towards, and it just gives me that focus and that determination, and I'm very, you know, driven by that. When I dated a professional wrestler, he couldn't believe it. One competition, I came second, and firstly, I threw it in a skip. And he said, Marina, like, I don't know why you've done that. Some people in their life don't even achieve a medal, and you've just thrown that in the skip. Why did you do that? And I said, well, firstly, second wasn't good enough. And the other point is that I actually felt like I deserved to win that one. And, you know, that's why, you know, bodybuilding isn't really that fair. It's somebody's opinion. And I thought I was, you know, in better condition, if you like, or leaner than the lady that won. So, you know, and for me to say, I think I deserve to win that is very rare. But I threw it in the skip, and you couldn't believe that I'd done that. So.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's anyone that's been sort of any level of competitive would completely resonate, especially if it's, you know, if you feel like there's an unjust decision's been made or anything like that, which is, you know, going back to what you said earlier on, this is why I resonate strongly with, you know, the sports that I do, you know, powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman. You pick it up or you don't. And, you know, if you and I are competing against each other, you pick up more weight than I do, you win. It's completely objective. So if you come second, you come second. Somebody was better than you, and that's deal. If someone beats me and it's fair and square, we're all on. You know, like you're like earlier on. I've always competed clean. I've never taken gear in like untested federation things. But again, nothing against it. That's your jam. That's your jam. It's not for me. I've always been clean, and if I compete against somebody else who was clean and they trained harder or recovered better, or their food was better, or they've just done more than I have to get to that place, and they beat me, better play. I'm the first person to shake your hand. But the next time I meet you, I'm beating you. It's that kind of attitude. But yeah, it's if there's been some kind of unjust or, you know, it's going to be, no, I totally get that.
Yeah, well, I think what I don't like is I've been in competitions where people say they're, you know, drug free and they're not. And, you know, we do like urine tests, and we also do a polygraph test as well, lie detector. So, you know, it's annoying because like they will drug test first and second. And so if the test comes back and the first, you know, the winner has been tested positive, then firstly, the person that comes second is missing that glory of being on stage. And, you know, that person is cheated. Just go into a competition that isn't, you know, drug tested. Stay in the ones that are, you know, not drug free. Do you know what I mean? Stay in that one. Don't claim you're natural if you're not. I don't, like I say, my ex-boyfriend, he was on steroids, totally against the grain for me. But it wasn't, you know, it's not my choice, and I have to state, like you probably, Charlie, we have to state where we are at certain times so that we can be randomly drug tested. It's just not for me, but I just dislike it if somebody will come and stand next to you and compete with you and claim they're natural when they're not. I think that's like unfair, and that's why I don't really like the bodybuilding side of things. You know, so powerlifting is just such a pairless sport, and you know, we lift it or we don't, and like you say, and we're drug tested as well, which is great. You know?
Yeah, I completely share your opinion on it. It's, you know, I've trained. I now currently coach a couple of people that are on gear, but they compete in untested federations where you're, you know, quote unquote allowed, and that's cool. And then my advice, and while we're on this topic, my advice to anybody looking at that is, one, don't be a dickhead. If your federation is tested, don't just keep it clean, because it has to be. But if your federation or whatever it is you're doing is untested, or to get that next level up, you have to kind of hit that point. Like you've got strongman, if you want to be, you know, on like the Giants live shows and that sort of stuff, you kind of have to be in that route, which is totally cool. Go see something they're doing. Like, don't speak to like Big Gary at the gym and get your stuff off him. Like, speak to your doctors and, you know, do it properly. Like, for Christ's sake, do it properly. It's one of those things that can and does go wrong a lot. But yeah, I'm completely with you, and it's one of the things. I had this conversation super recently actually about the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games, and you know, you met her, my daughter B. Yeah. She's coming up. She's 3 this year, and she'll be like, you know, watching the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games and that sort of stuff. She sees what we do down here, and I want her to grow up watching you and people that compete in those sort of environments and those sort of championships, knowing that like if I put the work in, I can do that too. And I think as soon as Olympians get tested and they fail a drugs test, it mars that whole kind of perception. If I work hard, I can do that. And all of a sudden, like, oh, they're all on gear. Oh, maybe I can't.
Yeah.
And it kills inspiration. And it's one of the, I think sports like powerlifting, weightlifting, especially at that standard, have to be clean. They have to be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got clients that used to sponsor and support. Who's it? Armstrong. Be wearing all his stuff, but you know, after being tested and everything, like you can't wear his stuff anymore. It's just like goes against the grain, you know, because at first he was such a hero, and then suddenly it's not anymore, you know. But yeah, just
that was big. I remember that came out as well with Armstrong. I remember that came out. That was a real shock. And you know, it was people trying to justify him that, you know, he wasn't taking anything illegal. He was only blood doping. He's just putting his own blood back in again. It's like, yeah, but that's still illegal. You know, he's still cheated. So yeah, no, that was huge. But you know, you sort of you look around the disappointment around that as a spectacle anyway, and then you bring that to a local level. You know, no one I know is, and a few friends of mine are cyclists. They're definitely not Tour de France cyclists, but you look at that on a local level, and all of a sudden it just comes like, well, what's the point? Everyone's on gear at that level, so I'm just not going to bother, and it's really disheartening. So no, I'm fully on the with, you know, obviously you and I we compete in the IPF, IWF for weightlifting and that kind of thing, and you know even strongman. We've got the UK Natural Strongman Federation with UKNS. They're coming out to get tested, right? So there's a lot more. It's becoming a lot more prolific, and it's a lot more prominent now with people saying, "No, I want to be clean. I don't want to be competing against people that are on gear." Because one, I don't want to take gear. Two, I can't afford gear. Three, I don't know where to start. But I enjoy my sport. I don't want to have to enjoy my sport with all of this attached to it. So there's federations coming out now that are saying, okay, cool, let's do it clean, which is brilliant. And again, it's just opening up more avenues for people to get more involved, and it's a lot more inclusive now, which is fantastic. And I think that's, you know, again, it has to be. And
really great. Yeah, really
cool. Really cool.
So, I'll just tell you a bit about, I was going to tell you about, so I met a lot of the gladiators because I did, we met at the last time the Royal Tournament was 1999, and myself and a medic who was on board HMS Davenport, I think it was, we went up to massage the field gun crew and gladiators 1999. So I met the Wolfman. Oh my god, what a funny man. He'd go he'd be so mischievous, go off hiding, all sorts of things. So I met him, I met Jet, Lightning, a lot of the gladiators. I forget some of their names now, Hunter. But yeah, it was really great fun. And we were pretty exhausted actually, doing the massage in those, those big units like you, honestly, Charlie. And I remember massaging, you know, one of the guys when I finished, I said, good luck. And he said, you don't say that, Marina, you know, their vision is like that, honestly. You tell them that after they've done their event. I mean, and these guys are doing that practicing 4 times a day, would you believe it? And they put their finger in that hole if it means winning or losing. That's how dedicated that. They're all taped up, strapped up. But yeah, it was great fun there.
The Royal Tournament was, I remember going to see it. So 99, I was 11 in the last one, but my granddad was Fleet Air Arm.
Oh, really?
I used to go out there and watch it. So the gun run it's such a prominent memory in my head. I used to go out there and I remember sat there screaming next to my grandma and granddad watching it. And it's so impressive. If you're watching and listening to this, you don't know what it is. Just if you just go onto YouTube and find the Royal Tournament, or like Fleet Air Arm, Gun Run, Royal Tournament, you'll find it. It's such a spectacle. Even now, I've got goosebumps thinking about it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. But they gave a certificate, and they tell you how much everything weighs and everything, you know, for helping us out. And yeah, it was amazing day. Yeah, it was great fun. Amazing. I remember the day we were getting tired, and myself and the other gentleman that I went up there with to help out. There was one of the black. I'm allowed to say that now, black ladies, forget what her stage name was now, and we were going to do one leg each, and she wasn't very happy about that. She said, no, you can't do, one of you do one leg and one do the other. We were pretty exhausted by that. It was like, it had to be one person that was massaging her. It was funny. Good day there, good day out. It was good.
I can imagine. And like I say, if you've, you know, sort of watching that show and wanted to be a part of it and then meeting them all, that's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, great fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. And then as you say, the rest of your kind of career has been tremendous. And we spoke briefly before we hit record about sort of getting back into we were going over to Belfast, getting back into the British Masters and competing back in powerlifting. So obviously since 2018, when you lost your mother, bless you, but since then, obviously taking 19 out, and obviously that hit everybody. Well, I don't know anyone that's lost a parent that's taken it well, and you were very, very close to your mum.
Yeah.
Not lifting through 2019, and then organising things with Aaron, and then bless him, he died, and then you've had a real kind of tough run of trying to get back into things.
Yeah.
So when you said at the start of this call, before we hit record, that you're looking at moving back up, not moving back up, but going back to Belfast for the British Masters, and it put a big old smile on my face because it's like you're back, and it's when I saw you over at Elite in December. I'm right. Was that your first competition since? 19?
I think I did one. I think Dean did one over in Gosport. I think I did one the year before during the summer, but we were kind of semi-lockdown then because you weren't allowed spectators or anything. I think I did one very small one, but apart from that, Elite was like really the first one for some while. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, Elite in December, then our one obviously back in March, and sort of seeing you back on the platform and sort of aiming towards those things again. It's really, really cool. It put a big old smile on my face because it's you had a rough. I think everybody had a rough old time sort of going through that, but obviously yourself as well from from 2018 when that hit you really, really hard, and putting yourself back on the wagon as it were, and going through British Masters with the view to then going to Europeans and Worlds, and it's great. It's so cool, and like you say, heading in towards your sort of 70th trip around the sun as well. It's so cool, and there's more people need to just have that kind of never say die attitude, I think.
Thank you. That's very kind, Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely mean it as well. So I feel like we're sort of taking off the other end of this. So I think there's a couple of questions I wanted to ask, and it's they're sort of fairly bog standard, this sort of interview kind of questions, but I think they're super important. Is just advice, terminology for advice. Like what advice would you offer to your younger self if you could take yourself back 50 years, 60 years to your younger self, knowing what you know now? What would you take back? And then what advice would you give to anybody, sort of window shopping, looking in from the outside, thinking, I kind of fancy doing it, but I don't know how to start, or, what would it make? Like, what's your advice to your younger self and anybody looking in now?
Oh, gosh, I think I will always try and believe in yourself. I mean, when I'll just tell you another little story. When I trained with a guy, he was a powerlifter actually, and I was doing bodybuilding at the time. We trained together in the gym, and he would always be taking, excuse me, saying piss out of me, like so many layers on because I'm always so cold. And when I was dieting for bodybuilding, I was always freezing, and he'd always so one time I think I did take my jacket off and everything, and I had like a little top on or something. He said, bloody hell, Marina, if you turn sideways and put your tongue out, you look like a zip. So and but I tell you what, he inspired me so much because he was always taking the mickey out of me, and I thought, I'll show you, and like if I did a competition and he said, how did you do? I said, I'll come second. And he said, what, out of 2? And and then when I won the Worlds, about time, so and I've been in a few books, like LA Muscle sponsored me as well, and I featured in their book. And I remember saying writing in the book and saying how he inspired me to do so much better, because I just sort of thought, I'll show you. I know you're a big unit yourself, but he always used to give so much out. But I remember saying to him one day, he was trying to get between the treadmills, and I said, Keith, you're too fat to get through there. He couldn't say that now, could I? And he didn't like. I would say he really helped me, because I thought, I'll show you, being a female, like I can be strong and I can do that and I can win. And I proved to him that I could, and I've excelled in whatever sport I've done. And so I think, just believe in yourself, be true to yourself, go for it. Don't let anybody put you off. I've always had like people that would, always want to sort of put you down. And I've seen in bodybuilding, I've seen girls and men, if they haven't won, they've thrown the trophy off the stage. One lady, she nearly cut somebody's foot, and they don't realize they're going to get banned for a year for doing behavior like that. I mean, you would never see that in powerlifting, and that's the difference of the sports. But it's been tough, and there will always be somebody that will criticize you or say, you know, I've had men say, or even women, I've been out on a night out and gone into the toilet and heard women talking about me, oh, that muscle was horrible and everything. So, you know, people can be really horrible, and you've got to be strong enough to be able to take those criticisms, because people are not always going to like maybe the way you look or what you do, but you just be true to yourself and be determined, be focused, go for it, and do it for yourself and nobody else. Always be the best.
Beautiful. Yeah, couldn't have said any of that better myself. And that's, yeah, unfortunately, there's a state of play where people, in my opinion, people do care way too much about what other people think, and it's, you know, the dawn of, like I said, I think you're right. You know, since you said it, I think since 2012, the Olympics, I think more sort of women have got into it, and more people are lifting now. And you know, you got these kind of, that way of putting it, just wankers that say, you know, muscle's not feminine and you don't look great, so oh, don't can look then. That's fine. This is me. So that's incredible. And you know, in terms of advice for people to take on board from yourself, I think that's great. So no, that's really, really cool. And no, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Before we go, just let people know where they can find you. So what are you at on socials? What's your website? How do people get in touch with you if they want coaching? Do you have availability for coaching? That sort of thing.
Thank you. I haven't got a website at the moment. The last person who I tried to update my website, he couldn't spell very well. So I took it down because it didn't look very good. I'm an ex-secretary PA, so I'm a bit hot on spelling. So no website at the moment. Email is marinamuscles@gmail.com, or Marina Cornwall at iCloud.com. I'm on Instagram, Marina_Cornwall. I don't really do Twitter and some of the other social. I don't do enough social media, to be quite honest, because I know I could probably be even busier if I did more posting and everything. I don't like doing videos of myself, and people, they can't believe, like, you know, when you're a bodybuilder and you go on stage in a bikini, but I'm actually quite shy and I hate the camera. So, but nobody believes you.
It's sport is sport, and everything else is everything else, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, that's why I like the powerlifting. I mean, you're not standing in front of somebody and they're like looking at your physique or whatever and giving you points. I mean, I just like the fact that you lift the weight or you don't, and you're only on there a couple of minutes. That's it.
Yeah, total competition is 9 lifts. It's great.
I mean, with bodybuilding, I used to run on and run off, and the first guy that videoed me, he said, I thought you were going to burst into tears. You looked awful, you know. So anyway, powerlifting is my sport. I love it. I'm pleased to be back in it. Thank you for your interview today. I absolutely love being part of your group, and thank you for the invite, Charlie. It's been amazing.
Absolute pleasure is all mine. Thank you for being part of it and taking your time as well. It's really appreciated. I will get this punched up later on. This will be on YouTube and, you know, wherever you listen to podcasts and such. I will, if it's cool with you, I'll put your email and your social links in the description, so if people want to get a hold of you, they can, or if they want to follow you and sort of see what you're about.
It's great. Thank you.
And then yeah, I'm excited to see, you know, where you continue on to, man. It'd be awesome to see you in Belfast and, you know, getting some new tin to add to your collection, and who knows, maybe out into where's world?
Mongolia.
Mongolia.
Based on the list of yours, I qualified easily, because so long as I even do the same list as I did at yours, I think I total 220. I only need 167.5 for Masters 3. So,
and again, just to hammer this point home, 220 kilo total. So again, for those that don't understand this, it's your heaviest squat, bench, and deadlift equates to your total, and that's your score effectively. So having that at a 43 kilo body weight is obscene. That's incredible.
It normally is. It's normally 260, but I'll get back up there.
Absolutely. I've no doubt, and I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. Again, I could carry on chatting to you forever and ever and ever. I find your story fascinating, and you're such an inspiration. So again, thank you so much for being part of this and for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Your competition too.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm just looking forward to not drinking 12 litres of water a day. That's going to be nice.
Leave that guy. Charlie's drinking 12 litres of water. Because he's got
wow.
saying it's ridiculous.
It's stupid. Don't do that. It's a terrible idea. I'm 120 odd kilos, and you know it's 0.1 litre of water per kilo body weight for a cut.
So you need the other. Get on with it.
Yeah, tomorrow is no water, weighing Saturday morning. I'm lifting Sunday, so yeah, that'd be cool. But not
Good
about
luck.
that. Anyways, I'm gonna
Yep.
carry on off then. So I'm gonna love you and leave you. Thank you again for being part of this, and I will see you very, very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie.
Cheers, Marina.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.